So, what defines you? I mean, we all walk through life centering ourselves on different things.
Mm.
Maybe it's, the horsepower of your intellect or the output of your labor, maybe your social standing.
Well, the usual metrics.
Right. But what if that center, the thing that gives you direction and value, is actually, I don't know, far more profound? Something rooted in like geometry and history
Yeah.
in an absolute fixed point.
Well, that is precisely the challenge posed by our source material today.
Okay.
We're doing a deep dive into a philosophical address from 1981, The Center in My Position, which it seeks to define human existence not by those social metrics, but by a kind of universal structure.
The universal structure.
And the starting point for this structure is a really foundational concept.
Yeah.
Every single person is a dual existence. You have a physical body and a spiritual body.
Okay, so if I have two bodies, a physical one and a spiritual one, and the source says they're usually in contradiction, what does that feel like in my day-to-day life? Is that internal contradiction just the simple explanation for why I, desperately want to work out, but I also want to eat ice cream? Or why I know I should save money, but I just impulsively spend it?
That's a perfect way to ground it, actually. It manifests as that persistent inner struggle.
Right.
The mind knows the direction it should follow, which is, for the benefit of the whole being. But the body, or maybe the lower urges, they pull in the opposite direction.
So you're scattered.
Your energy is scattered, your direction is inconsistent, and there is no complete unification of self.
So if we are inherently contradictory, what's the mission of this deep dive then? How do we fix this misalignment?
Well, our mission is to unpack the necessary conditions for these two parts, the physical self and the spiritual self, to achieve that unification.
And the condition is?
The only condition, according to this teaching, is aligning both parts toward a higher common center. And that ultimate center is defined as true and perfected love.
Okay, now let's start with the I then, the self. Because what's fascinating here is how expansive the self becomes.
It really does.
When I say I'm not just talking about the person standing here right now. I am an extension of something much bigger. The source says the individual holds the string of the entire ancestral love.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, this definition immediately dismisses that contemporary notion of the totally free individual.
The person who's singular and alone, debt-free from history?
Exactly. You are a link in an eternal chain. When you say I, you contain the culmination of your mother's love, your father's love, and ultimately the love of an absolute God.
It changes everything about independence. It makes me feel less like a square little island that I own and more like a complicated global network.
You've hit on the source's exact language. The self, or myself, is described not as a square little piece of ground that you can stake out and defend,
Right.
but as a round global entity, a microcosm of all of existence.
Spherical existence.
And designed for depth, width, and endless rotation, not isolation.
And the practical consequence of this microcosm concept is, well, it's realizing interdependence.
Exactly. The source uses a wonderful analogy. Your I cannot just declare, I am number one, and I'm independent from the hand.
Of course not.
Both the physical and spiritual parts of you are only useful and only united when they agree on a common higher center. Otherwise, you're just a collection of competing parts.
So this establishes a kind of hierarchy.
Yeah.
Life, love, and the ideal. Life is the starting point, originating from the love of the parents.
It's the essential beginning. Yes.
It has to start there.
And just as parental love brought you into the world, your goal is to fulfill that same pattern on a cosmic scale. The ultimate direction of the human being is universal, and the goal of life is to fulfill love.
The ultimate destination.
It's the ultimate destination of our entire existence.
Okay, so if love is the ideal center, the goal of life, how is that ideal love defined? It must be different from the fluctuating emotional love we typically experience.
It is entirely different. True love is defined as something unchanging.
Unchanging.
And it's based on one center, period. There can never be two centers or two competing priorities. And crucially, it is always a vertical center.
Vertical, like gravity.
Think of gravity. It's absolute and directional. God's love, the ideal, is not random or shifting. It is directional and purposeful, and that forms the vertical line.
And the source reminds us that love is always reciprocal, complementary, a circuit of give and take. But what makes humans entitled to participate in this divine circuit? What makes us unique?
Our unique sensitivity to love. Humans are the only objects entitled to become the object of God in this perfect relationship. And this sensitivity is total. It engages every single aspect of our being.
Every aspect.
The physical body has 5 senses, and the spirit body also has 5 senses.
That's 10 senses in total. Okay, we know the 5 physical ones: sight, taste, touch, smell, hearing. But what are the 5 senses of the spiritual body? How do they function? Is it just intuition?
They are the counterpart to the physical, aligned to the spirit self. They provide insight, discernment, spiritual hearing, feeling, and a sense of absolute purpose or direction.
So give me an example.
For example, where the physical eyes want to see beauty, the spiritual eyes want to see truth and love embodied. Where the physical mouth wants to taste a delicious meal, the spiritual mouth wants to absorb the essence of love and truth.
That is a wonderful distinction. So it seems the whole being, all 10 senses, is supremely interested in and activated by love.
It is the supreme activator. When true love hits a person, the senses respond like a perfectly tuned engine. They are designed to seek out, consume, and respond to love. It activates 100% of your potential.
Far beyond what intellect or physical strength can do alone.
Far beyond.
But the conflict arises here too. If my physical senses pull me toward, say, temporal gratification, and my spiritual senses pull me toward eternal truth, then my love direction would be going toward all different goals.
Up and down, left and right.
Exactly.
Precisely. The 10 senses must be unified. They must all move harmoniously toward a central directional sense, the true love goal.
It's like trying to drive a car where one wheel wants to go north and the other wheel wants to go south.
You'd spin out. The entire being must find and follow that absolute vertical line.
This brings us to the geometry, which is incredibly crucial. To reach that absolute vertical line, you can't just leap there. You have to first find the center horizontally, and only then can you go up along the vertical line.
And what's fascinating here is the complete rejection of the idea of a shortcut. You can't skip the steps. The source is very clear. You must experience every level. If you bypass the horizontal work, you lack flexibility, meaning you can't move freely in all directions when you finally reach the center. The training must be comprehensive.
So the training is essential, but the ultimate goal is geometric perfection. Let's talk about the core formula, using the example of the relationship between man and woman that the source mentions.
Okay. The formula for perfected love involves 2 essential lines. First, the man and woman must meet on a perfect horizontal line. That's the human sphere. This requires a perfected plus meeting a perfected minus.
Okay, what does perfected plus meeting a perfected minus actually mean for 2 people? Does that mean they're flawless, like without sin or mistakes? Because that sounds impossible.
No, it doesn't mean they're flawless. It means they have achieved internal perfection.
Internal.
Each individual has unified their own mind and body and centered their 10 senses on true love. That centered individual is the perfected plus or perfected minus.
I see.
So when 2 internally unified people meet, that horizontal line they create is stable and true.
And the instantaneous result of this perfect horizontal meeting is?
It automatically invites the vertical line of 90 degrees, the absolute direction of God's love.
90 degrees.
The conjugal human love is perfectly horizontal, and God's love provides the perfectly vertical axis. When they meet, it is always structurally at 90 degrees.
Like a perfect column resting squarely on a perfect foundation.
It's the only way to achieve structural integrity.
That raises a critical question. What happens if the man and woman meet at a different angle, say 1 degree or 30 degrees?
Well, the source is absolutely emphatic about this. Meeting at a different angle creates unhealthy situations.
Unhealthy situations.
That intersection is the absolute center, and if the vertical isn't at 90 degrees, the center point shifts. It creates imbalance and instability throughout the relationship and even in the individual's internal life.
So the 90-degree intersection is the only stable point.
It's the only way to establish a center that cannot be moved by external pressures.
So the goal is to create a perfect, sparkling center. The source calls it a lightning flash. When the husband and wife are moving horizontally and God is moving vertically and they meet at that center point, what creates that spark?
It's the harmonized energy. You get a sparkling, flashing circle because the 2 contrasting forces, the pulling power of the vertical and the pushing power of the horizontal, are perfectly balanced.
That's the moment the absolute love of God grounds itself in a human relationship.
That's the idea.
But the danger lies in internal misalignment. If your mind and body aren't on that true internal horizontal line, if they're on a slanted line, The vertical line cannot be at 90 degrees.
It can't.
So if my mind and body are pulling me slantwise, the spiritual result is literally a geometry that causes pain.
That is the consequence. If your internal self is turning on a slanted line, the resultant shape cannot be a perfect circle. It has to be oval.
An oval.
And when that oval shape is turning inside of you, it creates excessive friction and pain. The physical and spiritual parts are constantly grinding against each other.
But a perfect circle.
The perfect spherical circular center, however, is quiet, perfect, and can turn infinitely without suffering or pain. That frictionless existence is the reward of internal unity.
That makes the difficulty of the training so much more relatable. Maintaining that perfect horizontal line, internally and externally, requires intense, constant perseverance to avoid the friction.
It is described as very difficult to maintain. And the source stresses that before anyone even worries about finding a spouse, they must achieve their own perfection first.
So that internal unity of mind and body.
Centered on true love, yes.
Yeah.
The source says teenagers have fantasies precisely because they are searching for their stable position, their point of settlement in the universe's dual layers.
And the training process sounds like an endless trial. It describes taking an exam to be an ideal man or woman 100 times. You fail, you go again.
And there are no points given out of sympathy, even if you fail 1,000 times. The teaching is strict because the struggle is presented as absolute. Satan is right there, looking for any weakness.
Failure is failure.
Failure is failure. The only way to win is to persevere until you pass the course by achieving that foundational internal unity that makes the 90-degree intersection possible.
This constant, difficult striving is upheld by one single foundational principle then.
Yeah.
Love must be placed above all else.
Absolutely. The prioritization is completely non-negotiable. Love must be pure. It has to stand above money, secular power, and secular knowledge.
But we need those things.
Of course. The source acknowledges that we need these things in the world, but they must only be utilized for God's productivity, not treated as the highest goals of our personal endeavor.
And this prioritization often requires significant sacrifice. The source details giving up, say, an education or a glorious career to go the route of fundraising or witnessing.
You're sacrificing temporal goals to maintain that proper horizontal level, yes.
So that horizontal level must be protected.
It must be. Trying to compromise the mission using Machiavellian methods just to keep your career or increase your bank account, the source says, will never bring lasting results. The focus must be on making that dedicated horizontal line endless.
So that love and joy become endless.
That's the connection.
And the center itself, that true center where God dwells, is described as unchanging. It doesn't matter if that center expands to the family level, the national level, the worldwide level.
Or even the cosmic level, the axis remains the same. The structural center is absolute and unmoving.
That's key to understanding your own eternal value.
It is. The source says that as long as your center is correct, the horizontal and vertical lines are correct, then even if your external shape, meaning your social standing, your wealth, or even your physical appearance is ugly or odd, it's okay.
Why is that okay? Why doesn't external success matter as much as the internal geometry?
Because the center determines the truth and value. The external shape can be altered, you can smooth it out, you can polish it up once the structural integrity is sound. That person, centered correctly, will be in great demand because they possess the only thing that truly holds value. A perfect, frictionless center based on true love.
So we start as a small particle, but by striving for this unified 90-degree centered existence, the individual becomes something enormous.
Something huge.
It's a journey from contradiction to giant.
The individual becomes a giant, a flag bearer of the love of God. As long as you are a link along this vertical chain connected to the absolute center, you never truly die. You live on with history.
But you said something even more striking.
I did, and here's maybe the most striking claim in the entire address. By achieving internal unity, you can activate God and his love.
Wait, we activate God. That sounds like a radical inversion of traditional theology, where humans are always dependent on God's initiative.
I know, but the source is explicit in assigning this power to the perfected individual. The claim is that when the individual moves, God moves along with them, paralleling all actions.
So you, through your dedication, take the initiative.
You take the initiative to expand the center. True love is described as the key that opens any door. If God were hiding in a big safe with a 1,000,000-digit combination lock,
With the true love key.
it will open easily and automatically.
That assigns an incredible amount of power and importance to the individual's effort and dedication to this one absolute center. It makes the struggle for perfection not just a personal journey, but a cosmic event.
It connects your smallest action to the largest possible outcome.
Indeed. We've spent this time talking about geometric perfection and the necessary focus on true love. We learned that in the spirit world, a dollar bill is worthless, secular knowledge is superseded by God, and worldly power is meaningless.
Hmm.
So if the ultimate destination of your life requires only true love to unlock eternity, and everything else you accumulate, money, titles, prestige, is unspendable there, how does that fundamentally change the value you assign to your actions today? We'll leave you with that massive question to chew on until our next deep dive.